Hello and welcome to Grieving Voices. Today, my guest is Delyla. Oh my gosh. So how do you say your name again? I can't stop this. Pause. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Grieving Voices. Today, my guest is Delyla Ovalle-Bowyer. She is a social science and humanities research associate 3 with the Texas Center for Disability Studies at UT Austin. After 9 years of not taking life or college seriously, Delyla graduated with her bachelor's degree and went into special education. This was a path that was challenging and rewarding, and it also opened doors to education policy fellowships and a love for advocacy. She continues to advocate and look for opportunities to serve, and she is also a part of the Council for Exceptional Children's inaugural Diversity Leadership Academy. And she was also a participant in my program, Do Grief Differently, in April of 2023, which is like a year and a half ago already. And that, where does the time go, right?
I know.
And so thank you so much for coming. I know we talked about you being a guest on my podcast a few times, even back in 2023. And so I'm finally glad to have you as a guest. And today is also a very special day, and maybe we can start there.
Yes. Thank you so much, Victoria. Um, yes, today is a special day, October 21st. This marks my dad's second year of his death anniversary. His name was Fred Boyer, and he was an educator at heart and a leader as well in the public education setting.
And it's also the loss that brought you to Do Grief Differently as well. And it was obviously it's only 2 years today. And so it was quite raw for you at the time when you first came to work with me.
Yes, I found you actually just doing a search because I knew that I needed some help with grief, and that's where my journey started. Uh, with I never knew what grief was until I met you, Victoria, and when I went through well, with my dad, just seeing him in the hospital um, and being there for him. So I thank you for helping me on this journey.
It was my pleasure. And I want to rewind the clock a little bit though, and to your childhood and just share with people what you were taught about grief and learned about grief before and growing up, and then how that changed for you in what you learned through Do Grief Differently.
Um, as a child, I remember my first time. I was in fifth grade, and I heard that my grandmother passed, and my parents ended up going to the valley and told me to stay at school. Uh, and I did. So I I really wasn't sure what was going on. I just knew somebody did pass, and that I was supposed to continue to do my schoolwork, be there, get good grades. Um, so as a child, I don't think I was really grief really did was talked about it. And it was kind of, I feel like it was maybe swept under the rug. Um, and even when my grandmother did stay with us, it was like the doors were closed when she had leukemia. Um, but it was something that was there, but I didn't know how to cope.
Yeah, we're not taught the language either of how to express that sadness that we're feeling or the uncertainty and the unknowns. And
Yes.
then and because grief affects all areas of our life, even as children, right? Like even as children, like it can affect your friendships and excuse me, you're not showing up as your true self when you're feeling burdened. So
Yes.
how did that change for you then in what you have learned about grief through the process of Do Grief Differently, and how you kind of process those feelings even today, like on this anniversary.
Um, it's taken a lot of therapy, and I'm grateful for therapy. I mean, even finding you, Victoria, but how I process it more is like, for instance, today I took the day off work and I decided to um just do things for myself. Uh, go for a bike ride. I'm gonna go for a bike ride, and I'm gonna spread some of his ashes. And I guess how I process it throughout, the job, because, it does sneak up. It has snuck up a lot throughout the job. I I've learned tapping mechanisms. So, I'll do some tapping when I do feel that overwhelming feeling coming on. Um, and I have great coworkers that understand my body language, which is so amazing. So they ask if I need a break or if I need the lights off or, so I really thank them that they're a safe place for me. And it's talking to people. I think that's the major thing. Talking to people and telling them, no, I'm not okay right now. Because I believe that grief can be swept under the rug. And I believe that's what happened during my childhood. And even when my dad did pass, it was like that. But I had to learn to use my voice and the tools like you, Victoria, and my therapist, Stephanie. Um, and that's where it's changed. I'm like, I am grieving. I need to show these feelings. I will show them.
What was the biggest takeaway, do you think, that you got from the program? And yeah, just what was the biggest takeaway for you?
Oh gosh, I tell everybody that I didn't realize that grief wasn't just losing somebody. I think that was my biggest takeaway. Grief is loss of a job. I mean, grief is starting a new job. I, I mean, I feel like I grieved so much since August, since I did start a new job and everything.
And you moved.
Yes, I'm
New
moving.
neighbors, new community, new city.
Yes, so I that's all grief in one. And so yeah, you've taught me that, Victoria, that it's just not losing my dad. It's it's losing a whole 18 years of being a special education teacher. And that was my decision. That was my decision for my mental health to say, I need a change. And yet, even with that, I grieve my students. I wonder where they are. And I know in August, I saw all the buses coming out, and I was just like, I just felt sad. I was like, by this time last year, I was a teacher. I was getting my room set up. So yeah, grief is not just losing somebody. And that's the biggest thing that you've taught me.
How has the transition been for you into this new career, into the new community, and the tools that you've leaned on to work through those transitions?
It's been difficult. I it's been difficult with the transitions. I really don't like change.
Mm. Who
Um,
does?
exactly. Who does?
Most people don't.
Yeah, but I just talked to my therapist like maybe a couple of minutes ago, and I was just like, I'm going to embrace it. And what I'm doing is embracing the changes. And maybe the yuckiness that I don't like, and with my tools, with my tapping, with making sure I'm grounding myself, even taking a break at work, like going outside and walking. It's really helped me to come back to what I need to do. Like, even if it's getting back on the computer and, doing um, my data abstraction or, getting on a meeting. It's a challenge, but I work through it.
Now, when you lived with your mom in Houston. Are you
Yes.
living by yourself now in Austin?
Yes, I am.
That's another big change, right? So how has
Yes.
that been going? Like, it's almost like you're like, yeah, you were with somebody, you were with your mom, and now that how has that changed? Has it bettered your relationship? Sometimes sometimes we aren't meant to live with our parents, and that clash, especially, when you're as an adult, you know?
Yeah, well, she was the one that said, "I need my space," so I wanted
Oh,
to
okay.
acknowledge that. Yeah. She I wanted to honor her and acknowledge her and give her the space that she needed. And so, I was ready. I was ready to make the move and everything. Um, I missed home this weekend, so I did go home and I got some mom time. So I really want to say that our relationship has grown stronger since
Ooh, that's
we
great.
have been apart. Yeah. Mhm.
Distance makes the heart grow fonder, they say, right?
Yes, it does. Um,
Maybe it was something you didn't I mean, do you look back now, like, the time that you were with your mom, and then now the time that are more on that you're on your own and have your own space, like, have you found that, um, that you did too need it?
yes, I have found that I've needed my space, that's all I ever knew. I
Mhm.
mean, since we did take care of dad and then afterwards, uh, I mean, she's all I ever knew, and it was just like, "Okay, time to cut the cord," and it's been wonderful for us, you know?
Do you almost feel like because you both were caring for your dad, that you maybe there was a part of you that was finding it difficult to let go of caring for her, like when your dad passed, and then this tendency to want to care for somebody else. We can kind of replace that loss, right? This from do grief differently. If someone passes away, maybe we or moves or whatever. My child started kindergarten, my last one, I got a dog. I replaced that loss to put that love somewhere else, right? That love and care somewhere else into something else. Do you feel like that's kind of what you were trying to do after your dad passed and caring for your mom and maybe too much? And she was like, wait a minute. You don't need to do this.
Yeah, I do feel like I was doing that, and I wanted to protect her,
Mhm.
I wanted to care for her, I wanted to protect her. I didn't wanna leave the house that, I grew up in. I thought, maybe dad would come back, and it was just, you know, being there for her. Like, I felt like I needed to be there for her, but she was the one saying, "Okay, I gotta be by myself. I gotta learn how to live by myself," because this was my
Very
husband for, like,
true.
35 plus years.
Very true. And that
Mhm.
again, like that's a perspective maybe as you, the griever, aren't really thinking, it's like I need to
Mhm.
be there for her, but yet at the same time, we often don't think about the other person's perspective or what it's like their experience in their shoes. Like, no, I need to learn what it's like to be on my own because now it's her first time too, really.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I mean, and I love her so much for saying that when she needed to. Like, first it was like "You wanna get rid of me?"
Mm,
But I think I go back to, you know, um, it kinda makes me think of, when my dad did pass, and everybody was telling me to, go back to work right away. And she gave me the space that I needed. I was like, Mom, I can't go back to work. Like, I need to grieve. And she she was the one that just said, go to your aunt's house. She has an empty room. Go. And and I don't know why I connect those two, but I do. It's just like, she gave me the space that I needed. And so I guess that's why it
Mhm.
connects. I'm giving her the space that she wants and needs. So yeah.
I'm glad it's been a beautiful experience for you both and that it's ultimately brought you closer together. And I think that's a beautiful thing because you very well could have been like heartbroken and sad that, and maybe even resentful that she's now kicking you out of the house in a way, like you could have taken it that way, like she's kicking you out, but really it was from a place of love and her communicating her needs. And I'm so glad that you were both honoring that for each other. That's a beautiful thing.
Yes. She's amazing.
So there were through the program though, you also work on another relationship.
Mhm.
It's a 12-week program. So what was the other relationship that you worked on and what would you like to share about that?
The relationship that I worked on was with my sister, Caitlin. Um, and I chose that relationship because my sister and I have never had a really great bond, not sisterly, you know. Um, it's like we call each other or we text each other, but that's about it. Um, so I worked on it because I want to grow closer to her. And right now she has a baby. I'm an aunt. And so it was important for me to work on it to grow closer to her.
And how has that changed your relationship, do you feel?
It's, I mean, we talk more. I call her more. She calls me. She sends pictures of the baby. She's helped me with work a lot. I have a meeting coming up, so she's helped me tweak some of my my thinking points up. So, I would say that the bond's growing in a direction that I want. I saw her in September, her and the baby, and she just let me take charge of the baby. She was just like, "You're in charge of cleaning the diaper. Go ahead. He needs feeding." I was like, "Okay." And I mean, I even saw her in mother mode. Like it was just amazing. Like what she was doing. She's so detailed and so, you know, just loving with the baby, but detailed in like she knows what he eats. She wants to know how much he eats. And, you know, it- I just, I loved seeing in her in action. And she even called me and said that she knows I've been having some difficult times and she's here for me. So it's grown stronger since I've worked on that relationship.
I love that for you because I know she was a huge advocate for you too, even before you met me.
Yes, yes. She was a huge advocate. And she was a huge advocate in stating that I needed to get diagnosed with autism. This is probably the first time that I'm actually saying something like this. Um, but in the past, I was misdiagnosed with bipolar and over medicated, and I felt like a robot my entire life until until in my 30s, I saw a different psychiatrist and he went through everything with me, all the questionnaires, everything. And he was just like, yeah, I'm not seeing what the other person is seeing.
How many years were you medicated for
Oh
your
gosh.
misdiagnosis of bipolar, which is
Um,
crazy to me.
yeah, probably 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Until my 30s, like when I was 15. Yeah, 15 years.
When you started to question and your sister was kind of encouraging you, is that kind of what?
Yeah. Um, I started questioning probably in my late 20s because I kept on saying I'm a robot. I feel like I'm not in my body. Um,
Mhm.
and then I did see that it was a he was just an amazing person. He heard me. I forgot his name right now, but thank you.
Mhm.
And he just listened to me and he unchecked all the boxes of bipolar and he said something else is going on. And and then that's when my sister in my 30s, I remember, she sent me a video of women being misdiagnosed and being misdiagnosed as bipolar, schizophrenia, um, a lot of different things. And then finally in their 40s, late 30s, being diagnosed with autism.
Mm.
And it just really hit me. It it hit me in a good and bad way. I was just like, what? I was like, no, this can't be it. But then I was just like, maybe these are the answers to why I had such a difficult time in school and why it was difficult for me to communicate with my parents. So, yeah,
How
I
do you,
think for
how are you? I know you mentioned you had to have a therapist now, but
Mhm.
how have you, does this therapist believe that you are on the spectrum? And then also, how are you managing now your mental health in that way?
Yes, she does believe that I am on the spectrum and um and she has given me she really doesn't have that expertise. So what something new, Victoria. So on Friday, I believe that was October 18th, um, I actually got officially tested.
Oh,
So I don't know the results, but um we'll see in like 3 weeks what the results are. But I think I don't need that validation. I know who I am, what my past was, how my childhood was, and even talking to my parents, the difficulties that I did have. It it just validates what my sister has been advocating for me.
I've had other guests who have, had questioned a mental health diagnosis for many years and then received that diagnosis. And for some, it surprised them of how impactful it was. But then at the same time, it's like, well, it doesn't change anything, right? Like it doesn't change my heart. It doesn't change who I am. And, you know,
Mhm.
um, you're still going to be Delyla, right? You're still going to
Right.
be highly functioning, right? I mean, you got your bachelor's degree, you're working in research and you're living on your own. Like you can still have an amazing quality of life, regardless of whatever diagnosis you have. And I think that's an inspiring thing for people to hear.
Yes. Thank you.
So I'm glad you shared about it here.
Thank you. Yes, I am too. some of my coworkers do know, but not everybody. And I'm just, my sister said it best, embrace it. Don't hide yourself, because it is very tiring, trying to um, just go with the crowd and everything. But but I'm gonna change that perspective. I'm Delilah, and like you said, nothing's gonna change that.
How has that how have you seen that as being a challenging thing for you though in terms of relationships and connecting with people? How has it been challenging for you? And what have you learned that might be helpful to others?
Yeah, gosh. I guess with friendship relationships, it's been very challenging. I will trust the wrong people.
Mm.
Um, and I'll give them a second, third chance. And then the third chance is enough, you know? And I trust a lot. And it's really hard when that trust is broken. It it hurts. And so I've lost a lot of friendships. Um, and I guess, um, yeah, like I lost a friendship over a misleading conversation that one of their friends said something differently that I was like hitting on them. And I was like, I'm not hitting on you. Like, but it was like my friend didn't trust me. And I was like, can you give me the proof like that I'm doing this? And they couldn't. And I was just like, well, I'm not doing what you think I'm doing. And after that, it was just a realization that, okay, we've been friends for 2+ years, and this is going to be the end of it because you don't believe me, and they went on their own way, and I've gone on my own way. I It was hard, but I guess it was better. That's for the both of us. So within that, that friendships are really hard. um, like I
I
said, I
think they
have,
are for anybody as an
yeah,
adult. I mean, let's be real.
right.
Even as in your 40s, which happy belated birthday, by the way, which was in
You
September.
know, yes.
Um, it's it's no different. It's like you still feel like the kid on the playground, that was traumatized because somebody said something and, assassinated your character or made up rumors or lies and you feel like this defensive little child on the inside.
Right.
Yeah, it's no different in your 40s. I think that's mean girls in elementary school become mean girls as adults. I mean, let's be real.
Yes. I mean, they really do. And I guess now in my 40s, I guess that's when they say you kind of know what you want and I feel that, I do know what I want. I think I've always known what I want, but it's just like, you know, enough playing around. Like if you're going to be my friend, like this is how it's going to be and I'm going to have boundaries. And I do have those boundaries. So I have my coworkers, Ilda and Adra. They're amazing girls, and we work as coworkers, but we're friends as well. And like I said, they're just amazing. You know, um, and I believe that they're a friendship that will last, and I would like it to last. It is very difficult to make friends, but I
Especially in a new place, right? New place,
yes.
new job. Like, you're like that kid on the playground again.
Oh,
Like
yes.
your kid, the new kid at this, that moved to town and
Yes. Or the one I remember soccer, like, I was a big soccer player on the field, and I was just like, I was the one, "Who's gonna pick me?" So, like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's just that whole thing over again, but I think that's what just makes me, you know,
Grow.
grow. Yeah.
It's like you grow through your insecurities and putting yourself in uncomfortable positions, which is what you've done, and I just wanna commend you because do you feel like before you went through the program, and I'm not saying doing the program was the only thing and the one thing that changed everything. I mean, it did for me, but that might not be true for you. What do you think is true for you, though? The Delilah before Do Grief Differently and the Delilah now?
It is true that, with doing grief differently, I had to go head on with those the messiness, like, I literally had to be the lotus that grew in the mud,
Mm,
and before then, I wanted to escape, there's still an inkling of me that sometimes wants to escape, but, like, even today, I I told my therapist, I said I wanted October to be over, but then I embraced it, I was like, "October, I'm here." So, yeah, the Delilah before would shut the door on her parents, and cry underneath her blanket or maybe scream. Today, I'm doing grief differently. I'm embracing it.
I love how you threw that in. Because that's what it's called, right? Let's do
Yeah.
grief differently. Let's do this differently. That's the whole point.
Mhm,
Um, you know, I'm just so happy for you that you've had this lotus moment in your life. It's a chapter that is going to unequivocally impact the rest of the chapters in your life.
mhm, yes.
What do you look forward to most?
Oh gosh.
What gives you hope for the future?
Um, what gives me hope is the work that I do. Um, I started out as a special education teacher, and I've always worked with um, students on the spectrum and various abilities. And now I'm embracing my own uniqueness. So I guess that within itself, knowing that it's never too late to do something, that gives me hope for the future. And just knowing that I have a lot of love to give and I know I can do hard things, that gives me hope for the future. I used to not like the word resilient, but I'm always hearing that from my mom. She's just like, "You're resilient, Delilah." And I am, but I can also be vulnerable. And vulnerability may get me in trouble a little, or it just may scare me. But I think that's what the world needs: vulnerability, love, caring, me. um, yeah. Just life in general. I don't know. I'm just ready to enjoy life.
I wish I had a clip from our first session together in early 2023
Mhm.
and do a side by side. It's like night and day.
I know. It is.
Because I don't record the sessions, and
Mhm.
there's a reason for that, but,
Right.
because it's like, for your privacy and all of that, I don't record sessions, but I think I don't know if it was with you that I started it, where you write yourself a letter at
Mhm.
the beginning.
Yep.
Did we circle back to that at the end?
I
I
don't
don't
think
recall
we
now.
did.
We didn't?
I know I wrote a letter to myself, but I'm not sure
Yeah,
if we circled back to it.
I don't think we did. And it was just for you, right? It was just for
Right.
you, but I'm curious, do you remember anything from that? And like,
Oh, no, I
I hate to
don't.
put you on the spot, but
No, it's fine. No, I think
it's like, do you feel like that letter you wrote resonates with the you now?
I really do.
Yeah.
You know, I feel it does resonate, with um because I was so lost back then and I wanted better for myself. So, you know, I'm going out of my comfort zone.
Very much
And
so.
I told a guy that I liked him and it didn't go the way I was planning on doing it or how I wanted the outcome, but I did it. And that was my first time that I ever did that. Um so yeah, and I'm doing acrobatic stuff. Uh so uh, I want to say that that letter was to enjoy life and do something different, which I did. You know,
Mhm.
I said goodbye to teaching and got a research job. And so, yeah, all in all, I think that letter, I'm living that letter. I'm living that letter to myself, and now I really want to find that letter.
Yes, you should. It's
Yeah,
like a time capsule, right? You know?
yes.
And it was with you that I started that. So every client now
Mm,
I have them do that because I think it sets the intention for
mhm,
who you want to be and where you want to be the 12
right.
weeks following, you know.
Yeah.
And an aspect of the program too was UMAP, where we look at your strengths and skills and
Yes.
values and how has that what role did that play in you transitioning and finding this other role and what you learned about yourself that you didn't like really it's so easy for us to point out the great things in other people, right? But to own what we bring to the table. And so how did that help you and that how did that part of the program help you?
Um, that program really helped me see that I am truly worthy of, something different, something challenging. I'm a data abstractor, so I'm behind the computer analyzing various things. Um, and it was just like, I have to say, when I went into the interview, I didn't think I had any of the qualities, but Victoria, doing that work with you, the values, it made me realize that I had a lot of skills transferable to from education to a research associate. So it just gave me the to like ace that interview and just be like, okay, I may have some weaknesses, but I can learn.
Mhm.
And it has been a learning curve. I I I want to say that I may not be um given a lot of tasks, but it's because I'm still new at the job, so everybody's trying to figure me out, and I get that. So I'm being there and I'm being a helper. I'm being I'm being honest, I'm being open, and I'm saying, these are the skills that I have. This is what I need to work on. And yeah.
I just pulled up your UMAP because I wanted to just share with listeners and you and just a reminder to you um, your top five strengths are adaptability. Like, whoa, You've totally been doing that, right?
Mhm.
Deliberative, which is an executing strength. So adaptability is a relating strength. Deliberative is an executing strength. And so you take serious care in making decisions or choices. You anticipate obstacles. So that's a great quality to have,
Mhm.
a great strength to have.
Mhm.
And then you have two thinking themes, intellection and input, which are
Yeah.
wonderful for what the job that you're doing, right? And then
Yes.
developer is your final one, and that's a relating strength. And you recognize and cultivate the potential in others, which is great for team building and working as a unit with other people. And
Yes.
also the adaptability piece in relating to other people, recognizing that your strengths may not be the same, are not going to be the same as other people's, and so
Mhm.
adapting to the strengths that other people bring as well.
Right.
um, and I love, I'm just looking at your top values too: authenticity and adventure,
Mhm.
community, boldness, compassion, trust, respect, leadership, determination, balance. um, and you have a lot of the your most preferred skills I see in what you're doing: assess, observe, research, study,
Yes. Yes.
lead others, initiate change, yeah, collaborate. It just seems like a lot of what, and you're the doer and the helper. It's getting the job done, but in community with other people.
Right.
um and I'm so happy for you that you found a nurturing environment in order for you to grow in as well.
Thank you.
I'm so happy for you. That's wonderful.
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to share with people listening that this is how Do Grief Differently, the impact it can have on someone's life is, we don't just look at the grief itself. It's not all sad and gloom, doom and gloom, right? Like it is, because it has to be. We have to look at the past because it's influencing and impacting your future and your present day. You would agree with that, correct?
I
Like it
would.
was impacting your life tremendously.
Yes.
So you have to look at it and work through it. And now, like today, you took today off, you're honoring your energy, you're honoring any sadness that comes up for you, because even going through the program, you're still going to feel sad, right?
Yes. Yep. It never stops.
Right. But the difference now is, can you articulate now for listeners how that is different today than it was before you did this program? That exactly, like that pain that you felt, what
Yeah.
that would do to you, and now what happens like today instead.
Oh, today or before, the sadness would overcome me. I wouldn't want to get out of bed. I would I would basically want to just shut the world out.
How'd you feel physically?
Um, Tired, exhausted, mad at the world. Um,
Probably not ready to go on a bike ride.
oh yeah, never. Yes, I definitely put on, physically I was putting on weight. Um, and then it was not only affecting me, but it was affecting my mom. Again, we were living together. So me being mopey around the house or not coming out of the room affected her. And then she was worried about me.
Mm.
So she couldn't do her own grieving. So that's back then. Now I'm living on my own. I honor him in different ways. Like I'll take his ashes and we'll go on a bike ride and um, I'll spread them somewhere that I really enjoy. Now I can talk about it. I don't, I'm not so depressed. It doesn't feel so heavy on my heart anymore. Like I really felt, Victoria, that it felt so heavy. Like I was I consumed all this stuff that I couldn't communicate, but I can communicate about it now, whether it be journaling or to my mom. I'll call my mom and I'll just be like, this is how it is. Or I'll call my sister. Or I'll talk to my coworkers, my very close coworkers. So now I can talk about it and it doesn't weigh so heavy on me. And I have this, I guess, more light in my in my face. I mean, I guess if you were to see me back then versus now, like I definitely can tell that there's like a different energy going on.
You're permeating like light. Like,
Yes.
you know what I mean? It's grief is energy, joy is energy too, right? And
Yeah.
so if we're feeling that heaviness within ourselves, that's what we are projecting. That's why you said that's why your mom was feeling that too. And she couldn't grieve because of course she's your mom. And I mean, that was a perspective that you didn't draw that connection when you were
Hmm.
going through the program with me. Like that wasn't even something you were considering.
Right.
Um, and so it's like now she can breathe maybe a
Hmm.
little bit, you know, because now she can focus on herself and her grief,
Right.
and you can work on thriving,
Yes. Yes.
which it seems like you're doing. So I'm so happy for you. That's
Yeah.
exciting. I love the Delilah that is now being expressed that was always there, right? Like this Delilah was always there. It was
Hmm.
just, like I say, it's like a veil that you wear.
Right.
You can't see yourself clearly, so you don't see others clearly.
Hmm.
And now that you've worked through all that stuff, you can look at your mom and you can see the impact that that was having on her. You see things more clearly,
Yes.
and you
I.
see what you bring to the table in relationships and what you need in response to others in connection with you.
Hmm. Yes.
And you have the language.
Yes, I do. I do have the language. It's amazing, you know. And I still do the work every single day. It never stops.
I was
And I
going to
don't
ask, that was
well,
my next, I was going to segue into that.
no, I mean, Victoria, I think you said it best, like it never stops. You continue to do the work. And so I do the work. I see a therapist every other week, sometimes weekly, and I'm the one that voices it. I'm like, I need to see you next week. Can we open a space up? And she's always been grateful to do that. So yes, it's always doing the work. I I may have a hiccup, go back to, well, what about this? Or what if this? Um, maybe with my dad while he was in the hospital. But
Mhm.
then I'm just like, okay, Delilah, this has happened, do some journaling or maybe write a poem about it. And I do. And then I think about how he's not in suffering anymore, how he's not in pain, and how I'm not in pain anymore. I mean, I know pain will always come back in some aspect, but it doesn't weigh so heavy, so much on me where I just shut the world out.
Sadness and pain are very different, right? And that's why I
Yes,
said you're still going to feel sad today,
of
but it's
course.
not going to be pain,
Yeah,
sadness from the pain. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it isn't. So, yeah.
What would you tell people who are not sure what to do? I mean, because that was you at one point, right? Like you didn't know what to do. Like what what was the thing that told you I just got to do this? Like that kept that because people can come up with all kinds of excuses, right? I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have
Right.
the mental bandwidth. I got so much going on. I've got kids. I got to do this. I got to do that. We don't make the time for ourselves. What was
Right.
the thing that helped you to just make that decision to invest in yourself and do this?
I think it was seeing my mom, how much of an impact I was, like my depression and everything was impacting her, and just being so closed off and wanting to sleep. So, like, I think it was just everything, like the sleeping, the crying. I was just tired of it because it was even making me more tired. I was
Mm.
like, when is this gonna stop? Um, and just the thoughts of like it should have been me instead of him. Because I remember saying if I could have given my heart to him, I would, you know? But it was like I want to say it was that moment that I was like, I need to find somebody. I need to find some help. I need to wrap my head around this. I need somebody to guide me because I don't know what I'm doing. And if I went if and I and if I kept on going down that hole, it would have been bad. But I mean, I'm so grateful that I found Do Grief Differently and I was given the tools to help me, myself, and my family. Because again, Victoria, I think you said it best. Like, I didn't realize how much it was impacting my family until now I think about it, I reflect, and it was.
What would you say to somebody who's sitting across from you, a friend, and they're considering this? What would you say to them?
Do it. um, do it. It's worth it. You'll learn a lot about yourself. Um, you'll break down some barriers. You'll cry, you'll get angry, but all of those emotions are and feelings are validated. And if it was a close friend sitting right next to me, I would be there. I would tell them I'm holding your hand throughout the entire way. I'm going to be here for you. So for anybody like Zoom people, I'll be here for you. Um, yeah, just do it. You'll see
If
a
there
difference.
was, yes, if there was anything you could have changed about the program or anything that was missing, what would you say?
Oh gosh. I really feel like the program was just great. Everything was great. I do love the addition to the letter to yourself. So keep on doing that. No, I wouldn't change anything. I loved it. Um, it helped me. So yeah.
And these questions were not rehearsed, by the way. I
No,
did not send you these questions. So
I
thank
know
you
you
so
did
much.
it.
I wanted the true, honest,
Yeah,
response in the moment. So thank you so
yes,
much
of
for
course.
sharing. And again, I know what it did for me. I know what it's done for you. I know what it's done with the countless people who have gone through it. And so I appreciate you so much for sharing your story um, of the Delyla before and the Delyla now. And I love this is what I love. It's transformative. And you are a perfect example of how it transformed your life.
Mhm.
But
Thank
you
you.
put in the work. I give you the credit. The credit doesn't go to me. I
Yes,
facilitated it. I held your hand, but you did the work. And
right.
everyone who goes through the program, they do the work. And it might seem cookie cutter, right? Like your friend, if you have a friend that would go through it, they'd go through this exact same process you did, but it's different because it's your unique story. It's your unique grief. It's your unique process that you're taking yourself through. And that's why it's not cookie cutter.
Yes, it isn't.
Yeah.
Everybody's story is different. Um, Definitely.
Is
And
there anything else that you would like to share that you didn't? feel you got to?
Um, I just I want to say a big thanks to my mom Olga Boyer, uh, just for being there. She's always been there, and I know she will. Yeah, just and I thank everyone on this journey. I It's been a journey. There's been ups and downs, but I am holding to the ups, and I know there will be some downs sometimes, but like my mom said, I'm resilient and I will continue to do my work, my advocacy work, um, my research. I'm a big researcher. And, in the future, I hope to continue my political advocacy work with special education children because those children are very deeply connected to me, even the teachers out there. So even though I'm not a teacher anymore, I always think about my teachers. So yeah, thank
And
you.
thank you for the work that you do in your advocacy work and for to being the voice for those children, the future children that I have no doubt that you are going to advocate for. So thank you so much for being the light in this world that is so needed too.
Thank you, Victoria.
And I have one final question.
Yes.
What has your grief taught you?
Oh, my grief has taught me that it's my grief. It's nobody else's. That it can sweep you off your feet whenever whenever you least expect it to.
And not in a romantic way.
Exactly. Not in a romantic way. It, it is it can sweep you off your feet where you get stuck in the mud again.
Mhm.
But I make I kind of want to say that I just sit there with it and I'm just like, okay, let's do this. Let's okay, I'm feeling some crying. Let's do this, grief. Let's do this together. And why are we doing this? Oh, because something, you know, because that memory of dad came up, you know, or, you were vulnerable. So, okay. And it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to. Let's just sit with it. So it's taught me not to bury it because if you bury it, it just gets worse.
What is the what is the lesson your dad taught you that comes to your mind? Daughters and their dads.
Oh gosh. I want to say when he decided to take the morphine, um, he did it himself. He made that decision. And he asked us each one, or he told me, he was like, don't be mad if I do this. I was just like, why would I be mad? You know, you're in so much pain. I don't want that from you. Do I want to be selfish and happy forever? Yes. But he taught me bravery. He taught me how to be courageous the many times that I was with him in the hospital. He taught me, even on his last dying breath, my whole family just stood there around him. That death is a part of life and that he did it when he needed to go. So he taught me love and compassion, even those last seconds when we were just there. those last minutes, hours, you know, he, he taught me bravery, even though I was crying my eyes out and everything. And he taught me that he'll never leave me, even though he's not physically here, that he's guiding me on the along the way. Um, so yeah, he taught me a lot.
What's your favorite memory of him? Do you have one?
um, there's so many. But I guess one that really pops out right now, is he was a stickler for just getting me to school. Like he wanted me to have perfect attendance for throughout the entire elementary school year. So it was raining and the rainwater was up to his knees. So his car stalled. And what he ended up doing is he was determined again to get me to school. So he put me on his shoulders and he walked me like maybe 2 blocks just to school, just to get me to school. And he did, he was all wet, he was drenched, and I I don't know why that memory popped up, but it was just like him being determined, like, "You're getting to school. This
Come
rain
hell or high water.
Yes, exactly, that. Come hell or high water, yes. Um, and so, yeah, that memory just pops up, I guess, as well, because he was determined and he always knew I was determined, so and somebody can say no, but you keep on going or, you just keep on paddling, whatever it takes.
And never miss school. There's no excuse. Like you get your degree, you get it done, you do it.
Yes. Yes, so much, yes. Mhm.
There's a lot of lessons in that one event, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's a great memory. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
I wish you a beautiful rest of your day of honoring your dad and honoring your grief and the sadness, however it comes up. And I hope this expression of your love for him has helped you feel connected to him today and feel a little lighter,
Yes.
and to be an advocate for other grievers that there is hope. There is hope.
There is.
So thank you
Yes.
so much for your time today.
Thank you, Victoria.
And if anyone wants to connect with you, how can they find you? Are you on social?
Yes, social. I have a LinkedIn. It's Delyla Ovalle-Bowyer. You can find me there. I do have an Instagram, Delightful Delyla.
I love
Um,
that.
yeah, and I have a Facebook, Delyla Ovalle-Bowyer. So yeah.
I will link to those in the show notes if anyone wants to connect with you. Maybe there's some collaboration as far as children with special needs,
Yes.
advocacy work, things like that. Maybe
Exactly.
opportunities that can flood your way to Delightful Delilah.
Yes, I am working on some cohorts right now. So,
Oh,
political advocacy cohorts. So yes, anything.
all
Thank
right.
you.
I'm happy to share that in the show notes. So thank you so much for your time again today, Delilah.
Thank you, Victoria.
And remember, when you unleash your heart, you unleash your life. Much love.